Right, hello and welcome to another game of Napoleon Total War, a 2 versus 2. It's been such a long time since I've uploaded, probably 2 months or slightly even more. And I just wanted to make this quite clear, we are going to still be uploading. It's just been a huge break. A lot of us are going back to school. I personally, I've started going back to university, so it's just been quite a big kind of few weeks for us at the channel, and we're really sorry that we couldn't upload more frequently or at all past this past 2 months, but that's definitely going to start changing now that we're settling into our new life. And just to start talking about the game, you can see that it's, I think it's maxed 1 art, or is it maxed 2 art? Alright. Well, obviously my opponent, he's playing as Spain, so he has 3 guerrilla units, or at least I can see 3 guerrilla units in the forest up on that hill. And I think he was quite startled by how quickly the match began. As soon as it appeared, I just hit the start button. And now these guys are going to charge downhill, but it's against dragoons, so they're not easily going to be pushed away. And you can see my dragoons are actually holding their own, and they're starting to go up. And now they're getting flanked by lancers on that flank. These guys are going to stop and start to give fire, but I saw what he was doing. He was trying to go for my grand battery of the convention, and as soon as I saw this, I buffed the morale of the men, and they're managing to hold. And even my general goes in. I just really needed to save my guns. One of them have been, one of the gun crews were massacred, but 7 out of 8, that's not too bad. That's not too bad. But despite me completely wiping out that detachment of guerrillas, I managed to retain the guns, and they did do some damage. I mean, these guys are so expensive. Even losing one of them is not good for you. So I find it surprising that despite being Spain, he didn't want to commit to this really prominent hill right on top of my deployment zone. If he had just deployed the rest of his army really close to this hill, he could have marched his army right up here, whilst his guerrilla detachments held me down here.
This building has fallen to the enemy.
They seem to be setting up in the town, and they want to basically keep both of their armies as close to one another as possible. You can see the opponent in front of me, personally, he's playing as the Spanish, and he has, 2 batteries of horse artillery. They're going to dismount right here, I think. Yeah, they've dismounted and unlimbered. So they're going to be opening up on me as soon as I come within range and down this hill. And it seems like they're going to basically string out their line on this quite defensible kind of edge of town and extend their flank onto this field over here. And already, I think he just got a devastating, volley right into the midst of my men. But the Prussian 7-pounders, they're... Just a moment. So I apologize for that, the first interruption, but here he's unlimbering his 7-pounders, and he has 2 of them, so this could be quite devastating. Especially if he wants to just... Well, actually no, howitzers aren't that effective against urbanated areas. It depends. Sometimes they're really crappy, and sometimes they're quite effective. You can see that there is no chance of a cavalry going into this sector of the battlefield. He's set up quite a few lines of stakes, and they're hidden right now, but you can see there's a large shroud of what I presume to be rifles, or, well, what nation is this? Grenzers. And I'm still getting pounded away by his, what are these? 6-pounders. Not good news for me. think he just blew a line into his own men. Yeah. He wasn't paying attention, and he just ran across his own guns. And he managed to kill 4 of his own fusiliers. Not so smart. And up to this point, I'm going to fast forward it because it's just me laboriously dragging up my Grand Battery into position. Okay, now you can see I've brought up my Grand Battery of the Convention. He's already targeting them. And yeah, that's another shell that just went right above this carriage's unit. And if he's smart, he's going to do his best to get these two quite a distance from one another. He doesn't want them next to each other, because then there's just going to be an easier target for my Grand Battery. This is not good news. And over on this flank, it seems the Austrians they're quite confident in their position to hold onto the town of Lodi on this bank, so they're just going to keep pushing on this other flank, which it depends. I don't think it's a good idea. You can see that at best they could just set up counter defense on this side of the river, but I wouldn't take my Hungarian hussars over there as well. But he has an excellent position with his 6-pounder foot artillery. Just look at this. Excellent position. Oh yes, and this was the point that... Oh my god. I started targeting these Cuaraceros Españoles because these are so elite. Look at those chevrons. I have no idea how many chevrons he's given to these guys. But these guys, you definitely don't want to go up against them. So I was focusing all of my artillery fire on these guys. I was hoping to wipe as many of them out as possible. This was going quite well, because the more of them that die to my cannon fire, the less of them there are for my own horsemen. And my horsemen, they're quite good. The French have excellent horsemen, but they have nowhere near as many chevrons, and I don't have any heavy cavalry at all. I have chasseurs, lancer regiments, and dragoons, which are kind of heavy, but against cuirassiers, which are so heavily elite, they have no chance whatsoever. And you can see the assault on this little promontory over here, it's going underway. You have Prussian musketeers pouring into it, and 1 Walloon Guard, in addition to the Voluntaris de Corona, as well as a Jaeger unit. It seems they're holding off the Prussians. But the Prussians themselves, they're not doing too good. They're getting a lot of 7-pounder artillery fire onto them. And he's bringing up his Lutazov Free Corps for some reason. I'm not sure why. The Lutazov Free Corps. It seems the Prussian Fusiliers, they're trying to form a horseshoe around this little farmhouse on the edge of town. And meanwhile, I'm just trying to wipe out as many of these guys as I possibly can. And also go after his general, it seems, but the Grand Battery isn't doing as well as I was hoping it would. It seems like, to be honest, the Spanish are going to hold out. Mind you, they've done something that I really wouldn't approve of. They've, I think they spent 2 Walloon Guards already. I personally like to just hold out my elite troops, but oh my god, that was terrible. I'm not sure why these guys aren't firing. Maybe they... Okay, yeah. That's the end of that Lutazov Free Corps. Only 3 survivors who made it to the back. And they didn't even kill that many. Pathetic, really. So it seems my ally, he kind of neglected that 1 unit of cavalry, and he really paid the price for that. So that was quite a good unit of cavalry, to be honest. Oh, and you can see already, he's hiding his general staff right behind this little shack over here with a couple of sacks of potatoes, or I think apples. Meanwhile, everything else is getting pounded and like really picked apart by my grand battery. And this was the point that I decided to maybe send my chasseurs to cover the left flank of these Prussian Fusiliers. And there's still a battle raging for this farmhouse. I have no idea how many people have died, but just look at the surroundings. It's just an extraordinary carnage going on around this place. And over here, it seems like the Austrian guy, he might be trying to advance. To be honest, he needs these guys, at least these two Hungarian hussars, to go right back. Right back over here. Mind you, he's in a really tight defensive position, so I'm not sure to what extent it's going to be of use to him. And this was the point where I was coming in for the kill. I sent my chasseurs à cheval all the way around so that he wouldn't notice, and because his attention is so fixed on this sector of the battlefield, it doesn't seem like he actually did notice. So I'm going to have a combined arms attack. I'm going to go with 2 regiments of chasseurs à cheval and 2 regiments of line, and this is going to be beautiful. And you can see the chasseurs à cheval go right into these guys. This other chasseurs à cheval go right for his general staff. These guys are right on to the Fusiliers. First volley, and now the second volley. His entire artillery line was wiped out. He lost his cuirassiers over here to my artillery fire. It was just beautiful. I had no idea. His general is still alive. He's the one guy who made it out. Everyone else in that general staff died. Where is this guy? I'm not sure where he is, but yeah, that's him. He is so lucky. I don't know how he did it. Okay, finally.
Now,
to carbine fire, he just couldn't make it out. But his entire right flank collapsed. His entire right flank collapsed, and now they're kind of encircled all along the periphery of the town. And this is when I'm trying to push up my 6th Regiment, the Infanterie Légère, alongside some chasseurs. I'm still holding my old guard. No, I don't have an old guard. I have a relatively good quality line infantry unit in reserve, as well as the remainder of my cavalry, which is a heavily depleted dragoon regiment, as well as the lancers. And you can see finally their defenses around this farmhouse, which forms the spear point into the town, it's beginning to collapse. And it's a little bit too late, but from this side of the battlefield he does recall his 2 regiments of, what are these, 1st Hussars and Hungarian Hussars. But because this area is so tight, it's really impossible to advance. But you can see we're putting these guys into square. This is the only sector of the battlefield which they didn't heavily fortify. And these guys, they get put into square and they're getting picked apart. I think these guys, they've basically cut them off from a retreat. They've put these guys into square, and now these guys are getting picked apart themselves by another advance. You can see like the horseshoe kind of formation around them. And now these guys are going to come out. These guys are still in square. He might not be able to see them through all this fog and mayhem. But these guys are going to run up and close off this little passage. And if they try and come through here, then I can block them away with my chasseurs, just because these are pretty narrow defiles. And it seems like that's exactly what he's trying to do. They're just going to fall back right into the town. And yeah, their forces are just melting away all across the periphery of the town. And now it's kind of a mass rout actually of the Spanish in the front line. These guys are completely surrounded from all angles except their retreat line into the town, and poor guys, they're just getting picked apart. They have a lot of men left, like 85 out of 120, but they're getting fired on from the front, left and right. There's nowhere. There's nowhere these guys can run to except their rear. I'm not sure. The guy is just in such a terrible scramble trying to get his men out that he forgot this one unit. I'm surprised these guys held out for so long. But that's really the usefulness of cavalry coming in.
Glorious victory, sir, is soon to be yours.
These guys are still fighting on this bloody little farmhouse. It seems that maybe they're making progress, but who's shelling this? Is it me? Oh my god, I really should not kill my own ally. Oh my god, if I do that, then shame on me. These guys should get the hell out of there. Oh my god, this is terrible. Okay, thank god I actually changed the target destination of my shells, and now I'm targeting this town hall in the center. And how many units does he have in there? It looks like all this mayhem and chaos, it started to cause a mass rout phenomena. Yeah, we have that building. Finally, we managed to take the farmhouse on this sector. I'm hiding away my chasses de cheval just behind this series of buildings. And now it's kind of like Aleppo in the Syrian Civil War, where you have like a small encroaching kind of force, but it's really hard to actually flex your muscles in such a tight environment. I mean, anyone coming in here, these guys are just going to turn on fire on will, and they're just going to get decimated. You can't even form line in that tight sector. Mind you, this is kind of a death trap, so he's being smart and he's getting the hell out of there. Just one more shell and this wing of the building is going to collapse. Come on, one more shell, come on. Come on, Grand Battery. They've actually gained a chevron. I always love that. Wow. Look at just the mayhem going on. So much smoke, so much billowing. I can't even see anything. Okay, this is it. Oh my god. There goes the collapse. There goes the collapse. Just take a photo of that. Okay. Now they've completely withdrawn from the building. They just figured this is not the kind of place you want to be at. And here you can just see the long lines and columns of retreating and broken up line infantry and light infantry. You can see it on the map much better because a lot of them are shattered. Whereas the flashing icons, they're just symbolizing the men who are broken, not shattered. These guys are just still here. And it's just not going to work out. These guys are going to do a bayonet charge. The Archduke Charles Legion 8th Life Regiment. I wonder who's going to win. And that's the point where we actually don't find out. We do have a draw because of the time limits, but obviously we were in the ascendant, and all this time I forgot, I was moving up my cavalry onto the plateau and starting to form up my infantry to come and follow suit. But a relatively short and quick battle, and I barely lost any men at all. I was hardly engaged, but I did get quite a few kills. Most of the killing was done by my ally, Firefly Captain, who attacked the most immediate part of town, as well as that dreadful, dreadful farmhouse. So a lot of credit to him. I just want to see how many the Grand Battery killed. Oh, that's really low actually, 46. They did have a decisive impact in just taking out that annoying cuirassier unit, but that's about it. It was mostly the chasseurs and the fusiliers of the line that went up onto the right flank, actually. So I'm kind of disappointed that there were so few kills, but what are you going to do? Anyway guys, I hope you've enjoyed that, and pretty soon after this I think I'll upload the Pyramids battle that I fought just about a month or two ago. So 2 uploads, I guess. 2 uploads in one day. Anyway, I hope you enjoy. If you kind of enjoy these kinds of battles, then go ahead and subscribe to keep up with the upcoming ones.